So why is it important to have out-of-home measurement? As a former executive at ESPN, running the research department there for 21 years, the work that I have done on out-of-home measurement goes back nearly all of that time. And the reason is that it's a significant audience. We quickly found out in our early research that literally 1 in 5, or about 20% of all adults in the United States, are watching television at the time, this is going back 20 years, in out-of-home locations. And that's each week. Each week, about 20% of the population is watching television in out-of-home locations. That was 20 years ago. The patterns are probably the same, although I think the audience has grown. A lot of things have changed. The emergence of flat screen HD TVs have sort of improved, the marketplace for out-of-home television viewing. We also found out early on that these are very real television audiences. In many ways, they're no different in terms of how they watch television, the engagement that they have with television out of home as they do in home. What is different is that this is an incremental audience. Each week, this is an audience that perhaps on that day you can't reach through typical television. And they are a slightly different, in many ways more valuable audience than you find in home. A hard-to-reach audience, if you will. They can be travelers. They can be vacation travelers. They can be business travelers. Week in, week out, these are probably people that travel on a regular basis. These are people that go to the gym and work out, and perhaps at the same time watch television. These are people that are probably younger and a bit more social in that sense. And so, watching the big game either during the week or on the weekends in the local restaurant or pub or bar, whatever, with their friends. And today, in this age of cord cutting, this can be significant because this could be an incremental audience where I don't get ESPN at home, or I don't get this event at home for whatever reason. I don't get a local or regional channel. But I am interested, and so I'm going to go meet my buddies, at the local place and watch it on the TV there. And I would add this, because of the circumstances, this is also an audience that's, much more engaged than you would think. And in these out-of-home locations, the engagement factor is high because there are really no other distractions. You're not changing the channels. And I think what Tunity, the evidence that Tunity provides is the motivation. It's a proof of the motivation to want to watch television in these spaces because they are literally becoming a subscriber, downloading the app, and making an effort to listen to the audio at that time. What I would add in terms of the value of the audience, besides the demographic differences, is that this is an audience that is also out of home and therefore maybe close to a purchase occasion, which is very important to advertisers, particularly people like business travelers, etc. So that's something to keep in mind. They're not at home, they're not settling in for the evening or the day, they're out and about. The onset of Tunity has really changed the game a lot with out-of-home measurement, and it has started to fix the problem in terms of deeper understanding and deeper insights of this significant audience, this incremental significant audience that we now know is a little bit different. As I mentioned, one of the big questions, one of the big issues for both the media and the advertisers, I got to sit around and I have to wait for the data, right? It's not available for a few weeks, and that's an issue. Particularly if you're in the live sports business, as ESPN and CBS and NBC and everybody else, Fox are, they're anxious to get their numbers. And the press release just doesn't have the same kind of value, 2 or 3 weeks later. Tunity has changed all that by providing near real-time analytics. And as we're seeing now with the release of data for some of the big sporting events, actually Tunity is out there before we actually know what the value of the in-home audience is or the size of the in-home audience. The other thing is it's adding color to that audience. It's helping us understand the dynamics of the audience, both in terms of their demographics and the location, which has always been a big deal, and how that location varies by the type of content being viewed, etc. So this is powerful stuff. So all of a sudden, the out-of-home audience that was deemed to be sort of difficult to understand, difficult for the advertiser to wrap their arms around, Now they have even more information perhaps than they know about in-home audiences. And this is very powerful. Well, being a former network research executive myself for many years, my advice to the networks right now is you've known for a long time that this is an audience that has always been there. It's been there for decades, since really the beginning of television, going back to when the first barkeep put a tube television on on the shelf in a bar. It's a real audience. We know it's an audience that is of value to advertisers. It extends the reach of your message. And now finally, you have an analytic tool that is deep enough and powerful enough to provide you with the rich insights to explain in greater detail the value of the audience to your advertisers. And doing that on a real-time basis, day in, day out. And you can learn something from that. So if nothing else, the insights that you get from this tool right now are significantly valuable in terms of how you program, perhaps some of your programming, deeper understanding of the behavior of the sports audience, and then of course the valuable insight that you could provide to your advertisers.